Hey everybody, this is David with Garage Talk, where the distancing is always social. It has been a minute since we have been together, and part of the reason is we have all been working on projects, and we've been waiting for projects to be done to talk about them, and the wait is over. We have an amazing project we are talking about today. It is called Valley of Sickness and Death. It is an amazing horror story that uses lots of different forms of media and storytelling to bring this horrifying story together. And today we have several members of the production here, and everybody plays different roles. But first off, we have kind of the head collaborator of the piece, maybe is the right term, I don't know. James Otter.
Hi.
Hello. We have one of the main actors, cinematographer, storyteller, 100 other hats. Seph Lovell.
That's me.
Another one of the amazing actors in the film, Dakota James. And behind the camera extraordinaire. Is that a good,
Sure.
a good title?
That works.
And Josh, I'm going to do it again. Josh
Desatoff.
See, if I just wait for you to say it, I won't screw it up. The reality of it is I have 4 letters in my last name, and more than that, I can't manage it. Okay, so today we're talking about Valley of Sickness and Death. This is a project called a found film or recovered footage. Okay, film. James, if you kind of want to give us a basic kind of start off what this film's about.
Well, to summarize without spoiling too much, I'd like to say it's kind of like vloggers before they put their stuff online.
Okay.
Vlogging gone wrong.
I like that a lot.
You know, I mean, I don't want to necessarily spoil what happens to the vloggers, but it's called recovered footage.
Yeah, right.
So let's just say it's not good.
Very cool. Well, so can you tell me a little bit, I guess, and this is maybe a question for everybody, but talk a little bit about, so this is a recovered footage film. How much of the story was kind of scripted and written out versus what was found throughout the process of creating this?
Yeah.
Pretty much the acting is not scripted, but the story is scripted.
Yeah.
You know, we use what we find as well, you know.
And so the script itself it starts off, the opening scene is we're following this individual who is out at Autzen Stadium, right? Mm-hmm. And they're talking about the homeless. They're talking about homeless people and individuals, and kind of, there's this kind of interesting first piece of it where they're talking about, and James, is that your voice doing the narrative at the start? Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah, that's me.
Talking about, well, there's all these bathrooms here, right? Mm-hmm. When there's money involved and sports involved, there's always bathrooms to use. But in downtown, there's no bathrooms. And so we start this narrative off talking about homelessness in Eugene, right? And
yes.
Anybody who lives in Eugene knows that homelessness in Eugene is an issue that is very front and center on a lot of people's minds. And everybody has a different solution to the problem. But as we move through the story, it kind of morphs into more about horror and the kind of some of the scarier sides of our community. Did the film start off kind of with that idea, or did it start off kind of we're telling a story about the homeless and some of the things that they face in our community?
It was supposed to be a story originally about, like, this is the proto story. It was about 3 vloggers. Mm-hmm. And they were all disingenuous about the matter of homelessness. It was kind of about how it's covered.
Okay.
How people they'll pretend to care about it. And then things go terribly wrong because they discover there's this dark supernatural underbelly going on with it.
Yeah.
And that initial scene, I dub it, stalker.
Yeah.
Because this person is not being genuine. Mm-hmm. He's being creepy. Mm-hmm. He's not the good guy. He's harassing this woman.
Yeah.
And, he says pretty derogatory stuff, which was also very frightening to do in that area. Yeah. I'll say.
Yeah.
And it's really not about him caring about the homeless, It's more about the fact that they're in an isolated area. And he's saying, I have money for you.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's like, it's meant to show that kind of darker side, because that happens here.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
And then it turns out, oh no, this sounds good.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to, I really don't, but I kind of love this scene, because it was one of the first ones we shot.
Yeah.
That was like, I'd consider to be a scene, like really, really planned out.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, it's just really creepy.
Yep.
You know?
No, it is. And I feel like that's kind of one of the things that happens kind of throughout the whole project. And again, I don't want to give stuff away too much, but, you know, there is these sort of vignettes within the story, right? So, so Seph, your character is a vlogger, and they're interested in sort of the horror aspects and stories around Eugene, right?
Yes.
And so there are these segments that are very kind of bright and sunny and storytelling and very interesting, and then they slam up against these scenes that are very dark and disorienting to a bit.
Yeah.
So that kind of, did that piece kind of come along throughout the story, or was that sort of something you found as you were creating the story, or was that something that really became apparent in the editing process, or how did we come across these sort of pairing these scenes up against each other?
Yeah. I would say for me that some of that was inspired by kind of the juxtaposition of filming a horror film, you know, and filming it, most of it during the summer, in a time where so many other people are focused on, you know, going swimming and, you know, having school off and, you know, other lighter things to juxtapose our dark project that has been going on for months.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, there's a lot of symbolism in this movie.
Yeah.
There is a lot. And it's like, you know, like even with the critters, the creatures, they each represent a different aspect of society. And a different aspect of the town.
Yeah.
Like, you know, there is, you know, we film all over. I even film on the coast a bit, too, which was fun.
Okay.
You know? But, like, each of the monster guys you see represents a different thing within the thing. The mask guys are, behind the scenes name for them are the Billies. You know, and there's a bunch of different Billies.
Yeah.
Like in They Followed Me Home, that one I call the landlord. You know, because it has to do with homelessness.
Yep.
And it has to do with society. Even, you know, our prime, you know, monster was inspired by actually the warming centers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
And how people are always sleeping on the sidewalks, and you see them.
Yeah.
And no one really notices.
Yep. Yeah.
You know, you even see that in the movie. They just walk right by.
Well, and there's kind of some scenes in the film where there's somebody sleeping on the road, and you guys kind of commenting, oh, they're sleeping there, and make comments about that. And so yeah, I could see that. Yeah. Well, and you know, as you kind of are, I guess one of the questions I have is, you know, when you do one of these recovered film pieces where you're, you know, the performers in the piece, how much of yourselves are you kind of bringing into those characters versus, you know, okay, this is my character that I'm playing. Do you think about it that way, or do you think of it in terms of like, well, this is I'm the person that's this character today?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, I would say that my character was basically just me. I mean, my character's name is incredibly similar to my real name, and it like, because we filmed so often, and in such a short amount of time, it was really just about putting myself into the movie and, you know, thinking about how I would react to these things.
Yeah. Very cool. And then, Dakota, was that sort of a similar process for you as well?
Sort of, yeah. The way I chose to play the character, I chose to play him as kind of a dick, but also when he's worried about his friend, he kind of has a soft spot.
Yeah.
So I probably have some of those qualities in real life, but I was still definitely playing a character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. And were there ever times within the filming of that process where you felt like, oh, I'm going too far one way or the other for either of you?
No, not for me.
Yeah.
I think you can only not go far enough for horror.
Yeah, yeah, right?
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. One of the things I found interesting actually was there's a lot that goes on kind of with the sound in this piece. There's a lot of really kind of cool things that happen auditorily as you're watching the film. Like it becomes sort of part of the story, right? So there's some neat music in the piece, but even more so, there are things that took me back to some of like there's in the like late 60s and 70s. There's a movement that's happening in experimental film that's using sound to elicit emotion from individuals within the projects they're working on, and so I was reminded a lot of that in this project. Sounds as I'm listening to this in my headphones are creating specific kind of emotional cues, and if you want to talk a little bit about the soundscape in that process.
Oh, man,
that'd be amazing.
you watched this with headphones on?
I did.
That's rough. That's hardcore. You're hardcore. So I'll tell you some stuff about the music, and it's kind of intense.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I'm a trauma survivor. I have a number of disorders that I fight against. Mm-hmm. So all of the music, apart from like some of the glitch noises, those are, I made those pretty recently, but the music I chose is from a handful of albums I made during a manic episode in 3 days.
Okay.
During a manic episode, I made, I think maybe 4 albums.
Okay.
I just recorded music every day nonstop, and it was very... And so it's not necessarily good music. I chose it because it's kind of just freaky, to be honest. Yeah. I wanted to use sound cues in a really unpredictable way, because I find in a lot of found footage, it's kind of like I can predict the jump scare, and I think if it's just sort of something that can happen completely at random, it's a little more frightening. Yeah. And I don't know, just the context of the music makes it creepy. And it feels good, too, to hear, I like that. Yeah.
No, it's great. Very cool. No, I like I said, I one of the things as I was watching through it, I was like, the sound plays an incredible piece. And I hadn't thought about it, but you're right. As you're doing these kind of found film pieces or these recovered footage pieces, like using that sound to really help create where your scares are is a really smart way of doing that. That's awesome. We do have a clip that we'll show. Yes. Does anybody want to kind of give us a brief intro to what that clip is going to be about?
Let's see. How about you talk about it? Because you worked on it with me, and we watched it before we came here.
Okay. The clip is called "It Followed Me Home."
They followed me.
They have followed me home. All right. Seph's character is in a safe place, or at least they think it is, and then through the course of the scene, they learn that he really isn't.
All right.
Awesome.
But how would you? Would it be all right if?
Of course. Yeah.
Seph, how would you describe the stuff I made you do?
Oh, I would describe it as very unnerving. It's very unnerving.
Yeah.
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 It was unnerving to do, and it's unnerving to watch, even.
Very much so.
I'd say it's where the boundaries of the show and the film break. Yeah. It's it shatters. Yep. That safety is gone. Because up until that point, there really hadn't been any footage. I don't think there'd been any footage at that undisclosed location, somewhere in Spain. But, there'd been none. Nothing at home. And this was meant to really, really show that, oh yeah, they're done playing. Yeah.
Awesome.
They're ready.
So, I was just fucking sleeping, right? I was just fucking sleeping, and I swear, something fucking woke me up. I don't know what the fuck it was. but I don't know. It doesn't sound sane, but I feel like somebody's watching me. Even when I'm at home, it feels like somebody is watching me. Like, although, and you know, there's nobody there. There's nobody there. So like, I don't really know what to think. I'm pretty fucking scared. What the fuck? What the fuck is that? That's on my floor. I just filmed that too. This is too fucking much. Like, my door is locked, but I don't know what the fuck is going on. I don't... What the hell? What the hell is that? No fucking way. What the fuck? Oh, okay, fuck this, I don't even have my keys. God damn it.
Okay, gang, that was awesome and terrifying and unsettling, and that's the tip of the iceberg, right? In this
Yes.
piece. So something that we touched on before we watched the clip a little bit, and this is a question that anybody can ask or answer, but maybe Seph, we'll start with you. How do you go into that sort of really kind of like, there's some real genuine terror that's happening in that moment, and it's you've got a lot of things you've got to be thinking about, right? Because you're holding the camera. And you're being mindful of the scenario that's being set up in front of you, and you have to be thoughtful that your voice and story and all of that piece is projecting what we need to then make this an integral scene in the film. So
Yeah.
what was that like?
Honestly, I would say that it was so hard to initially really get into the mindset that I have to play a scared person, that I have to pretend like I'm terrified.
Yeah.
And I would say that pushing myself into acting like that was uncomfortable. So it did kind of give me that genuine feeling of discomfort, and like I really this is not right,
Yeah. Yeah.
But it was jarring, but it was also fun. It was a lot of fun.
Dude, it was treacherous.
Yeah.
Like, that was treacherous. You had to run down the stairs, like, slower.
Yes, the
'Cause,
scene
like,
with the stairs, the scene with the stairs and the blanket.
Yep.
I had to walk because James could not run down the
I
stairs
almost
safely enough.
fell.
Yeah. That's the logistic things of
Yes,
making movies.
the
Yeah.
logistics, and trying a scene out the first time, and then being like, okay, we got to do it this way the second time, and then maybe even the third time or the fourth. Like, it takes a lot to figure out the logistics.
Oh, we did it in 2 takes with most things. Like, we were like, bing, boom. You know? I mean, it was...
And was that something, I guess, that's another good question, in these kinds of more improv types of pieces, do you find that as you kind of were all working on it, you were going, oh, I like this bit, but I want to do it differently, so let's do another take, and I'm going to be sure to do it this way, but I'm going to change this. Like, how much, within the course of a scene or a vignette of the piece, how much did that kind of happen?
Every so often.
Yeah.
Yeah, it happened a little bit. Because, like, we'd just find a way to do it a little easier. But every now and then it was kind of like freeze tag. Because, like, we have to make it look kind of like a continuous thing.
Yeah.
And so, I'd be, like, in one of our many cemetery safaris, I was in the background hiding out, and I'm like, okay. I'm like, all right, stop, look here.
Yeah.
turn. All right, you gotta go back there. Okay, let's do this again. That
Yeah.
was more so with it. But in the more hectic or kind of sketchy areas, we really didn't want to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and were there any, without self-incriminating or without anything that you don't want to share, let's talk a little bit about locations, because there is a lot of locations in this piece, right? Like,
Very many.
Many.
Very many.
Different buildings, different locations. You're in different parts of the outside. You said you were at the coast. Was one of those shots at the coast? You were under a bridge. Was that? There's early in the piece. There's like a archway of underneath a bridge with kind of a river running through it. Was that coast or was that local here?
Let's see.
Early-
I'll give you a guess.
Yeah.
Okay, so it is in the area.
Okay.
And I think you might see it if you're going into Glenwood.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, I know where it is.
Yes. Yeah, no, we actually filmed that this month, believe it or not.
Really?
Yeah.
Some of the most recent scenes in the movie were ones that we had filmed in the past month.
Okay. Very cool.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, so, and I guess maybe off topic a little bit, but it's still kind of on that same topic. So something that happens in this film a lot is the camera, to me, feels like it's very much intentionally giving me what it wants me to see versus what it's not wanting me to see.
Mm-hmm.
And in more traditional filmmaking, like a lot of the stuff that we do on Garage Talk, it's a much more like locked off shot. So, we've got our placement of the shot, and everything coming in and out of the frame is very intentional.
Yes.
And whereas with this more kind of free-flowing kind of improvisational piece, I felt like there are times where the camera's going, no, you don't get to see this, but you hear things over here, and it's eliciting this kind of feeling. Was that something that really kind of happened a lot in this project, or was it just sort of, well, I'm running down a flight of stairs being chased by someone, that's just where the camera landed and it worked? Or maybe a combination, or how did all that work?
Well, some of it, I don't know. You like sashimi?
I'm a fan.
I like to think of the editing process for those scenes like cutting sashimi meat.
Okay.
Because I'd cut meat out and take a piece out and then put it over there and do it. But also, a lot of it's meant to be really authentic. So, like, if you're running with with your camera phone trying to capture something, it's not going to be a smooth shot.
Yep.
Like, you know what I mean?
No, I
like
like
you're panicked, you're not going to stop to look at the monster.
Yeah.
You're going to want to get out of there. If you're looking at the monster, you're also not going to initially always be freaked out. You might be more confused.
Mm-hmm.
It's like we've seen some interesting things.
Yeah.
I saw like a bug today. It's crazy.
Very cool. So as I was saying, on the locations, right, a lot of what we see in the film, it feels like you're going to the location and you're kind of dealing with the things that are there, right? You're using that environment. But without, again, doing spoilers, there are several scenes in this film that are clearly set up as happening, right? There's set pieces, there's kind of some staging.
Mm-hmm.
And Josh, can you talk a little bit about kind of what that process was like in the preparation and all of that kind of goodness?
Well, to be perfectly honest, I would just, James would, hey, you want to help me film a scene tonight? He's like, yeah, sure. I'd show up at his place and here's the stuff we're working with. Let's go.
Well, we'd scout it out probably like a day in advance.
Yeah.
Most of the bridge stuff I scouted out.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And we take video notes too.
Yeah.
Because we didn't storyboard, we didn't have a way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Such a good piece. And then for the performers, as you kind of, I'm trying to remember, Dakota, I think there's at least one or two scenes where there's some really kind of specific set dressing and pieces that your character's in, and then Seph, I know very much so that is the case for you as well. Did that change the process for either of you? Because now, as opposed to kind of interacting with the world around me, there are specific things that I need to make sure that I'm interacting with. And what did that look like for both of you?
Should I go first?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. For me, I just kind of used it as a prompt. So if I saw something, I'd kind of make a comment off the cuff. Kind of combine notes I was given with reacting to what I saw.
Very cool. Very cool.
I forgot the question.
So, no, that's okay. It wasn't a very good question, so you're fine.
No, sorry.
No, you're good. My question as there are a couple scenes in the piece that
Yeah.
have like really specific kind of set pieces that happen.
Yes.
And they're not there for the rest of the process. So I was wondering if, as you were kind of figuring out the way that you moved into the scene and interacted with the scene, if you're like, oh, I need to make sure that I'm hitting this beat now, or did the inclusion of things that were not natural to the environment have an impact in kind of the way you were telling your piece of the story?
Yeah. Sometimes it would be a little difficult to take the cue of, having to react to this certain thing or incorporating this certain thing into the scene and stuff. At some points it was a little difficult just because of how I would have to get into the certain headspace to be able to do that, and it definitely felt more natural once I got into it, once I was more accustomed to what I was doing, but it definitely did feel like, it felt very odd sometimes, it's like, oh, I have to react this certain way. I have to incorporate this thing as if it is a part of me, or as if, I have to act a certain way.
Yeah, very cool. I think it's interesting, so how those things can sort of really have an impact on the performance in multiple ways, because there's this rhythm that you find, and so when something comes into the scene outside of it, it makes it different. I think that's interesting.
Yeah.
Question I had too. So I'm not 100% sure, but were these were shot on phones? The film was shot on phones.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
The entire
entirely on
movie.
Want to present our
Your
Yeah, the
exclusive-
entire movie was shot on these two phones.
Here, check it out. Look at that.
Yeah.
Damaged.
Very cool. So so I know that it's a recovered footage piece, and that was part of the idea. Was there ever an idea where you're like, oh, well, maybe we'll try to film it on a camera, or was it always like, no, I want to use a phone because of kind of what phones are today and how accessible they are? Or what was that like?
I don't know. We're low income.
Yeah.
So it's like, I like to think
Yeah.
of it as a kind of, like, recovered footage is a very, like, that's not a real thing. Like, I made that one up because I want to make it a thing.
Yeah.
And low income horror is also not really a thing. But this is real. This is where we're at. Like, we live off of, like, food boxes and stuff. So we worked with what we had.
Yeah. Well, but I think here's the thing. Like, I really liked that it was shot on phone. Like, there's an eeriness to it, right? That like, because there's a, maybe not eeriness, but voyeuristic.
There's an intimacy.
Yeah.
There's an intimacy
Yep.
to witnessing something entirely shot on somebody's phone, where it's very clear that it's being shot on somebody's phone.
Yep.
Even the voyeuristic scenes that are in the movie.
Yeah.
Like, it just brings this extra level of closeness to it to be like, oh, I shouldn't be watching this.
Yep.
You know?
Yep. 100%.
Oh,
100%.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I really like that. I thought it was a really kind of a neat device. And there is a movement that's happening now in filmmaking, which is filmmakers using their phones for the entirety of that process. And so I thought that was really cool. And then that was just something, as I was watching through it, I was like, I wonder if there was ever a point where they were like, oh, well, let's see if we can find a camera to shoot this on, or whether it was always that piece, because there is some voyeurism that happens in the movie, right? Like throughout the piece.
I shot most of those.
You hear that?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, there is most definitely some voyeurism and some creepiness.
Yeah, there's a lot of content that's cut just because to keep it flowing, but there is a lot of freaky content. I mean, there's that shot where, like, Seph's just talking near the bus, like, I'm waiting for the bus with my boyfriend.
Yep.
I was across the street filming the whole time. There was originally going to be a thing, because I walked right by with my camera.
Yeah.
And was like, Like, the whole voyeurism of it is really a big thing.
Yeah. This was kind of a cool thing, and it's a blink it and you miss it kind of thing, but there's a scene where you're on an escalator
Yes.
going up the stairs, right?
Yes.
And you're vlogging, right? And then we cut to a shot of you coming up the stairs,
Yep.
up the escalator. But then just out of the corner, like as you're talking, and I don't remember it lined up real nicely though, because there's this line where you're talking
Yes.
about something, and I see
Yes.
you in the background with the camera.
Yes.
I was like, oh, this is cool. Yeah.
Yes.
So that was really fun.
Things like that. We really did try our best to make it so, like, I'm talking, and then, like, there's something happening behind
Yeah.
me or something.
Yeah.
But sometimes, like, that exact moment was complete fate. Like, that was
Okay.
just
Cool.
that was just like spur of the moment. This happened.
Yeah.
We got to keep that in.
Yeah. No, it's great, and it is one of those kind of like blink and you miss it moments, especially because
Yes.
if I remember right, it happens earlier in the film, so it's like
Mm-hmm.
kind of one of like you haven't fully kind of come into that sort of idea that presents itself very clearly as the film progresses. So
Yes.
awesome! I'm really glad. I'm glad I asked about that. So it's kind of like this is actually one of the last film questions I like to ask on these things.
Yeah.
So, and this is generally historically I go, hey, director or writer, these are normally people who we ask on, but I feel like this is a question I'd like to open up to everybody to give me some input and thought on, because I feel like this project feels like there's James is kind of guiding it and shaping it, right, and moving through the storytelling, but everybody in this plays a piece on it. Yeah. So any advice you would have for folks who want to do something like what you all have accomplished? Any advice you want to give?
Oh man.
See, I'm just being mean. I'm making you guys do it first.
I would like to say that it's really it's not easy. It most certainly is not easy. But it's easier than you think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. And do you feel like it's maybe sometimes the hardest part of it is just starting it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Having a core idea to even go off of, creating something like that can be so difficult. But once you have that, and once you have that passion and that drive to work towards it and to create something to fruition, it just feels so good.
Yeah.
It really
Oh,
does.
God.
Having ADHD also helps.
I think it helps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Being a little disordered or something.
Well, I think it helps to be able to, just start brainstorming is the key. Avoid trying to work with people at bars. This is really essential.
Yeah.
Don't work with people who are
Okay.
going to talk big.
Yeah.
Because they're going to usually be really passionate and wonderful, but they are not going to follow through.
Okay.
The key is to write. Write every day.
Yeah.
That's the secret. Every day write, and just keep working on your stuff. It's that's what I did. This neighborhood's bizarre to me because when I first started writing poetry, I lived down the street. I was 9 years old.
Okay.
And when I was 12, I'd walk around this very neighborhood, this very street even, and I'd go to the woods and I'd get ideas for stories.
Yeah.
I think it's just important to keep going.
Cool.
Whatever you do, pick up your camera, start filming, pick up that paintbrush, just start throwing paint, until you can think of something to draw. It's just do it like that. Don't worry about money, don't worry about income, just go with it.
Just get your ideas out there. Just get your ideas down on paper at the very least, and start from there.
That's also really important. Get your ideas down on paper, and when you do get to the point where you're filming, type something up and make sure people sign it. It doesn't have to be like a binding agreement thing, just some guidelines.
Yeah.
It's really helpful to have structure, especially when you're doing a lot of improv and things are very open-ended.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's important for people to know what they're getting themselves into,
Yes.
Yeah.
especially when we were going to sketchy locations
Great.
and filming at night.
Yeah, like
Right?
oh god, one of my friends bailed out
Yeah.
when they saw the footage. They were like,
Too
agree with
creepy.
this. Yeah.
Too creepy.
But the thing to remember is it's about maintaining the illusion of sketchiness. Although I found
Okay.
that illusion wasn't an illusion sometimes. Okay.
gonna say.
The E-Web footage. Oh God! Looking into the
Yeah.
E-Web building,
Yeah.
and you see the guy in the background. I don't know if you caught that.
Yeah, that was not something that was planned.
No, that
Wow.
was scary. I didn't even notice that till like months later, and and it
We didn't notice that till
freaked me
this
out.
month.
Yeah. Holy
Like-
cow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
You know, I thought it was like a ghost, but then I'm like, no, that's worse. It's
It's a human.
it's someone that could like probably freak out.
Yeah. Cool. Well, hey, so thank you guys all so much for joining us today. I really appreciate your time. I also really appreciate your talents. It was really fun to watch the film. So, when and how can we see this?
Well, I intend to put it on YouTube on my channel, Poet Overlord,
Okay.
on Halloween.
Perfect.
I'm gonna try and get it to go up at midnight.
Okay.
You know, as in like midnight 01. You know
Yep,
what I
yep,
mean?
yep.
You know, I talked to these people, they're confused. Well, they're in Georgia. They didn't know.
Yeah.
They didn't know what I meant. They're
Yeah,
like
yeah,
midnight on Halloween or midnight on Devil's Night. You
Got
know?
it. Yep.
And, you know, if things go really well with this movie, I think, you know, it won't be on there long. I'm going to try and get it on other streaming things,
Awesome.
you know.
And Alluvium.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Let me
Yes.
not forget to mention that. When's
Yeah.
this airing?
Probably tomorrow.
What? Okay, cool. Well, let me mention something real quick first off.
Yeah.
Okay, this is really important because there's going to be a one-time screening
Okay.
at Alluvium on October 28th at 9 p.m.
810 West 3rd.
810 West.
Oh
3rd.
yeah, and not only that, but I built a whole freaking installation while I was making this movie.
Very
I've been
cool.
painting non-stop, living, breathing, eating horror. So come to my show, dude.
Awesome.
Come check us out. We're
Yep.
rock stars.
Very much so. Cool. Well,
And energy drinks. Thank you.
thank you. We will put information down in the Hoodly Who, so you can
Yes.
click on that and get that information.
Oh man, I thought this was like a family-friendly show. What's going on?
Hey, well, you know. Boom.
You're cool, man. I like you. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, no, thank you for coming.
This is really cool. This
Yeah, it's
feels like
awesome.
a real big step forward.
Hey, it's a
Thank you.
beautiful piece of art, so we're excited to share it. So cool. Well, you all have a great evening, and you guys have a great night. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Bye.
thank you.
Oh, yes.
All right.